We all want to have the mechanics of a Korean pro player, and even though some of us are not born with insane reaction speed and coordination, it doesn't matter how good or bad we are, these are skills that we can train and therefore improve. Without them, we are going to be very limited as to what rank we can climb to, but with great mechanics, you can do anything on Summoner's Rift. What's up, GameLeap? Oh, it's the Jizz, back at it. And in today's video, you are going to learn what mechanics actually are, why they are so important, and how you can actually improve them pretty much instantly. So in the next 10 or so minutes, I'm going to give you 5 real, applicable challenger tips that have helped hundreds of students from all elos climb divisions and tiers, and by watching all of this video, you are going to give yourself a chance to as well. Now, another way to give yourself a shot at achieving your goals this season, GameLeap.com, our website, unlike other sites, doesn't make you pay for a recycled YouTube video each month. We upload up to 20 exclusive challenger tier videos a week, not a month, a week. Like, how can you not improve with that? So to indulge in that original and frequent content, sign up, links in the description and comment section. So before we get into the actual applicable tips to improve your mechanics, we have to understand what mechanics actually are. So when someone says this word mechanics, what are they actually referring to? Well, for me, they're referring to someone's ability to trade with the opponent effectively. Now, of course, the champions taking part in that trade, they have some influence on what's going to happen here. But what's even more important than the champion someone's actually playing is what their mouse movement is like, what their clicks are like, even their thought process in their head and what they are envisioning for that trade. All of these things are so important that by the end of it, it doesn't really matter what champion you're playing. If you naturally have good mechanics and you think about the right things, you are always going to give yourself a chance to pop off, which is what this video is designed for. But why are mechanics so important? Well, let me put it this way. You are not going to climb past gold if your mechanics are subpar. Let me just say that right now. I remember even when I was climbing in Korea, right, on like 180 ping, when I was going through gold and platinum and diamond, some of these players I saw were better than players in OCE. I mean, it's not that hard, but mechanically they were so much better, but they were in a lower elo. Now that might sound as if I've just contradicted myself, but what I'm trying to say is that these players who are in gold and platinum who have like insane mechanics, seriously, like they're even better than some high elo players, you're going to have to get through them. You're going to have to beat them in lane. You're going to have to outtrade them, and this is why we are here on this video. So let's get into the 5 tips, guys, that are going to help you improve mechanically so you can actually get to that next level. Now, the first tip, buy some gunner optics. They will take your game to that next level. I'm joking, that's not the real first tip. The real first tip is looking at the enemy champion while you're playing. Now, how do you actually improve this? Well, I want you to create a custom game with 5 bots in the enemy team, beginner or intermediate, doesn't matter. And I want you to go in a lane and just play looking at the enemy champion entirely. Do not look at your champion once throughout the entire game. This is going to have 2 massive impacts. The first is that because you're looking at the enemy champion, you know pretty much what they're going to do before they do. So whatever they throw at you, you can see it coming. You're going to predict that skill shot. You can see what CS they're going for. This is so important. This is why players like Faker and all the best in the world will dodge skill shots pretty much as soon as they've left that enemy champion, because they give themselves that much time to react to it. Lots of players in lower elo won't even look at the enemy champion, and by the time they see that skill shot coming at them, it's too late and they get hit by it. Now, the other massive benefit of actually doing this is that if you look at the enemy champion for me in this clip, you can see that if I move Lucian around in the mid lane here with my mouse, you don't actually have to tunnel vision onto Lucian to see where he is. Your peripheral vision will take care of that. So even if you look at the enemy champion and tunnel vision on them, your vision is still going to see your own character in the side of that play. So you can still control your character perfectly fine without actually just looking at them. So we're taking those blinkers off that those horses have on horse race days. We're taking them off and we're opening up our vision here. Now, because you're doing this and you're looking at the enemy champion, and in other words, the enemy threat, because if you do die in lane, it's not like you're going down to the minions, right? It's because the enemy champion hits you with a skill shot or catches you off guard. So by looking at them, you're going to minimize your deaths. And what this also helps you with is kiting, especially if you're a ranged champion, but even a melee champion as well. It's very important to put yourself in positions where the enemy champion is going to find it hard to really punish you, and by looking at them and knowing where they stand, you can then coordinate your own position effectively. If you don't do this, there is no way you're going to improve and climb mechanically. This is the first step, to look at the enemy champion at all times. Now, the next tip I'm going to give you is the line of intent. Now, what do I mean by this? The line of intent, well, it starts again by looking at the enemy champion, but then also where their character is actually looking and facing on the rift. Because if this bot I'm playing against is looking in the line he is now, I'm going to draw a line to where he's facing and behind him as well. If this was a real player, his mouse is going to be clicking along this line. So in other words, I know exactly what his screen looks like. Now, it sounds a little weird, but what this allows you to do is to know what he's going to do in the next 1, 2, 3 seconds in the near future. For example, when he's clicking away, it's very different to when his character is all of a sudden facing me like he is here, because I know his mouse is clicking on something along this line of intent, and if you are on that line of intent, you are most likely going to cop a bit of damage or some sort of skill shot. And this is especially important if you're against ranged champions or someone with a ranged ability, because when they face you, their mouse is going to be on you and clicking on you to auto attack, or it might be like a LeBlanc Q, for example, or a Malphite Q. So when you're on that line of intent, you know that the enemy champion's screen, their mouse, is probably clicking on you, and they are telling you that they want to damage you in the next few seconds. This is then going to allow you, because of course you're going to take damage at some point, to actually take it in the place you want to, but also give you the chance to bait them maybe into your creep wave, or so your jungler can gank, because you know that they want to damage you. Now, of course, the better you get, there are little tricks you can do, because if you want to disguise your own intent, what you can do is look in the other direction where the enemy champion is, and then all of a sudden click on them immediately so you catch them off guard. This is a nice little trick you can do to disguise your own line of intent. But if you don't do this, again guys, with the first tip, you have to do both of these if you want to improve. I'm telling you right now, I've seen it that many times in students. This helps them so much. Now, the next tip I'm going to give you, again, this is going to sound weird. I want you to verbalize the enemy cooldowns in your future ranked games. Now, what I mean by this is this. When the enemy champion uses a cooldown, I want you to say that cooldown out loud, and if you can, also give the timer to that cooldown. For example, if you're this bot I'm playing against in the mid lane right now, when I Q on Lucian, this bot should know that I'm on cooldown for another 5-6 seconds or whatever. So they have a little window of opportunity where they have the cooldown advantage. This is going to make you so much more aware of those windows of opportunity, because lots of players in low elo just trade when the enemy champion has all of their cooldowns, and it's harder to actually win. These little windows, you'll see it all the time in higher elo. As soon as there's a little 3-second cooldown advantage someone has, they are going in for a trade. So in your games, as soon as you see the enemy champion use a cooldown, say it out loud. Now again, it all starts with looking at the enemy champion. We can't do that without actually looking at them. So that's the first thing. And then when you see that cooldown being used, say it out loud. So it actually feels as if you're playing the game as your character, which is really what we want. And this is so important because when you are trading and fighting with the enemy champions, cooldowns are pretty much everything. They determine who wins and who loses fights most of the time. So it's essential that you get this down pat and get into the habit of verbalizing the enemy cooldowns, so that then it becomes almost habitual that you're just looking at them and counting them in your own head. Now, the fourth tip I'm going to give you is going to sound just as whack as the previous one. This is the right-clicking circle. Now, what on earth do I mean by this? Well, what I mean by this is this. Lots of players in lower levels of play, right? Where they right-click around their champion, it is so far away. They click from like the left of their screen to the right of their screen to the left to the right, and it makes me really dizzy when I watch their gameplay. So what I'm going to do on this screen right now, I'm going to draw a circle around Lucian, and what my aim is during this laning phase is for my mouse clicks, so my right clicks, to not leave this circle unless I'm looking to damage the enemy champion or if I'm looking to CS. These are the only times that my mouse is leaving this circle, because for the rest of the lane, what I'm doing is moving, and my movement is determined by my mouse clicks. If my mouse clicks are closer to my champion, I'm in more control. I don't have to click from all the way over here, all the way over here if I want to change direction. It's quick, it's immediate, and it's a lot cleaner. And what this really is just clicking efficiency. It sounds so weird and it's like so tedious. I know it might seem that way, but trust me, it isn't. You watch any of the best players stream in the world, their mouse clicks are so close to their champion. Now, of course, this will be actually hard to implement with all the other things if you're not aware of them. So what you can do, guys, just to isolate this own strategy is to just get into a game, whatever it is, practice tool against bots, whatever you feel comfortable with, and just click close to your champion. Now, you can do this in the lane if you want to. You can do this anywhere on the map, it doesn't matter. But I want you to always envision this circle around your champion. Now, the smaller the circle, it might even be smaller than the one we've given you here, the better. This means your movement is more precise and it's more deliberate, rather than just clicking all over the place, which is another way of you and the game telling me that you're not really in control of your champion. This is going to help you so much in the mechanics department. Now, the last tip I want to give you, when people position on League of Legends, so wherever they click in terms of their movement, where would you want to be positioned ideally in this situation? So it's like we're playing an arcade game where we pick one of those fluffy toys up and then drop it and see if we can get it, right? Well, same thing here. I want you to pick your champion up, yourself up, and then drop yourself in the ideal position. Now, again, this probably sounds pretty weird, but what this is going to do, if you can do this every 2 to 3 seconds in a game and just ask yourself, where is the ideal position for me to stand? You give yourself the chance of actually standing in that position, because lots of people just position for the sake of positioning. You know, it's because they have to stand somewhere in lane, so let's just stand here, who cares? But there has to be an intent. So what you're trying to do with your pinpoint positioning is trying to locate that perfect spot in your lane where you should be standing relative to the enemy champion and the other factors in the lane. So of course you have to take HP into consideration, levels, items, minions, of course, but the enemy champion, guys, is the most important thing in your lane. And what you could even do to take this a step further is to actually verbalize your own positioning to yourself. So you might even record your game and then speak during the game saying, I'm going to position position this side of the mid lane because I'm scared of getting ganked. I'm positioning here because the enemy champion is positioning over here, or whatever it is. Then you can actually watch your games back and actually analyze yourself and just say, well, actually, I was wrong to do that, and this is why. This is going to immerse you in the game when you watch it back, so you can actually understand your thought process and see if it's good or bad. This is going to help you self-analyze your own games, and why I think this is important, because after this video, lots of people are just going to go back, to playing League how they were playing League. I want you to go and improve and learn from this. This is what it's about. So take these tips and apply them in your games, guys. With a bit of practice, these can go so far to helping you mechanically, and you need them if you want to become one of the best in the world. So I hope this video was useful. Let the Jizz and Co know by leaving a like down below. Until tomorrow's daily upload, make sure you hit that sub button as well. This has been the Jizz. Bye.